what was that guy's name? I think it was El Chapo. You know, he was the drug lord, the gang leader. And the guy was worth, I don't know how many countless millions and millions of dollars. Well, right now he's in a maximum federal prison. My understanding is the only maximum federal prison in existence, or at least the most secure of all maximum security prisons. He lives in a little one-room cell, and he stays there, from what I heard, 23 hours a day. And I wondered why. I mean, this guy was obviously, still is, obviously, highly intelligent. He could have gone into legitimate business and become a multimillionaire and right now been living the high life. The reason this comes to mind is yesterday I was watching a gangster documentary on YouTube. And same thing, only it was back in the 1930s. These guys would live a life of crime, and they would make millions of dollars, and many of them wound up dead. Some of them wound up in prison. Very few of them lived out a natural life. But these same people, had they decided to go straight, had they decided to be legitimate business people, they had the acumen, they had the talent, they had the intelligence to do it, but they just chose to be crooks. Why? I mean, they had to spend their entire lives looking over their shoulder, fearful that somebody was going to take them out, or their competitor, another gang, was going to have them, what do they call it, rubbed out, or they could be arrested. You know, any one of 100 things could happen to them, but still, they proceeded in this, I hate to call it a line of work. I mean, what else would you call it? Profession? That's what they did. They were professional criminals. All right, so with that in mind, now I'm wondering what it is about narcissists that makes them continue to do what they do. What is it psychologically? What is it neurologically? What is going on inside their mind? Because, you know, most of the narcissists I know, not all of them, but most of the narcissists I know, they could have lived a much better life. And I say could because these guys are now pushing 70. They're my age. But they could have lived a much better life had they just been not jerks. I mean, had they just been fair and honest with people, not to try to take advantage of people. But for some reason, they can't see it. So I draw an analogy that these people must be like individuals who are dependent on gambling. They have this dependency and they can't break it. So we're asking ourselves, what happens now as they get older, just like a drug lord, just like a trafficker, as they get older, well, do they learn their lesson and do they change? And the answer to the question is no. Because narcissists, number one, is they tend to be stuck in a rut. We got 6 of these, by the way. They're stuck in a rut, and they think that's successful. So let's imagine that you're in a vehicle. I don't know if you live in an area where it snows in the wintertime, and you get stuck in a snowdrift. That's called snuck, by the way. You're snuck. And you push the gas pedal and your tires spin, and what happens? Well, you just dig deeper and deeper in the snow. Same thing happens if you do this in the mud, you know? But you don't see that as success. You see that as things getting worse. But a narcissist, as he gets deeper and deeper and deeper in the rut, it's as if he thinks the deeper the rut, the better. He's just stuck there. He's perfectly happy. How far down can I dig? Man, I'm really doing a good job digging this rut in the snow or digging this rut in the mud. So the answer is, you know, these people don't change because they think their rut is a good thing. They see it as a type of success. Nobody else sees it that way. Everyone else sees, you know, this guy is just a little bit nuts and is getting nuttier. At least that's the way it seems. Well, it's not the way it seems. It actually is the way it is from my perspective anyhow. So they just have this dependency and they're perfectly happy digging the hole deeper. It doesn't matter how old they get. They never get out of it. Now, number two is this. Even though they don't change their ways, they do change their game. They change their strategy. For example, not all of them, but the ones that I've observed is they tend to play the part of the sweet little old victim. Helpless, just needs a place to stay. You know, nobody loves them. Everybody has abandoned them. Their friends, their family don't understand them. They have physical problems. They just need somebody to care about them. So this one person that a few years ago, when they were even in their 60s, they were obnoxious, you know, after They got people caught in the trap, not during the love bombing stage, but they were obnoxious, they were high-minded, they were arrogant, they were aloof, they were narcissists. And they didn't hide it once they had somebody entrapped. But now the same person who for decades was a complete, absolute positive jerk is now sweet, kind, and what would you call that? They just have these puppy dog eyes that you just want to reach out and give them a big hug. That's all fake. It's part of their mask. So basically what they do is they put on the old person mask. The person who is, what would we call it, pathetic. Somebody who puts on the sweet act, kind of like Aunt B, and we accept them, we take them in. So yeah, they do change, but they just change their act. That's it. Number 3 is we need to keep in mind that these people, and again, this is my opinion, based on 70 years of experience, as I have dealt with narcissists, and that is that they are hardwired to go in circles. Just go round and round and round. That's all they can do. It's kind of like, we talked about getting stuck in the snow or stuck in mud. And what does the tire do? It just spins. It just goes around in circles. That's all it does. Well, that's a good thing if you're on dry pavement and you're driving down the road. You want the tire to go around in circles. But if you're stuck in mud, that's probably the worst thing you could do. But they're hardwired, just like the wheel in your car, to go around in circles. They're just stuck in mud. They need to be somewhere else, but they're perfectly happy being stuck in mud because they think, again, as we said earlier, the deeper the rut, somehow it seems in their mind, and I'm not a mind reader, I'm just observing, but in their mind, that is the very definition of success. Look how deep I've dug this rut. And if they manage to stay out of jail, which some of them do, some of them don't, it doesn't, that just encourages them, tells them that they are more successful than ever. If we would just quit supplying them, quit bringing them gasoline to put in their cars so they could quit spinning their tires, that'd be fine. But for somehow, some way, they always have people who bring them supply. Supply, as you know, to a narcissist means that someone is giving them something or doing something that inflates their ego. So number 4 is they have what we would call control focus. We have mentioned this in other videos, but think of the narcissist as thinking of himself or herself as a remote control, and everyone else is a device. Everyone else is to be controlled by the narcissist, and they think themselves very cunning and very savvy and smarter than everyone else because they do this. They don't realize that other people could do the same thing if they wanted to, but other people don't want to be that controlling. I think everybody to some degree likes to be a little bit in charge, a little bit in controlling, to some degree, but a narcissist, that's all. There's no degree, it's 100%. They have to be in control all the time. They are the remote and we are the little car, that runs around the road, or the TV that they change channels on, or the drone that they fly around in the air. They are the remote, and we are their devices, and the whole world is there. They think they're so brilliant, as I just said, never coming to the understanding that what they're doing really is not all that bright. In fact, it's detrimental. They don't understand that anybody could do what they're doing. It's just that other people prefer not to be jerks. We prefer not to be that controlling. Number 5 is you'll notice that older narcissists are still narcissists because they just can't learn. I mean, they just don't have the capacity to learn new things. Now, I mentioned a narcissist once who had been, he had like 50-some court actions taken against him, different kinds. Some of them were lawsuits, some of them were prosecutions where he had, we call it bounce checks. The legal term is check deception. He had been put in jail for check deception. He had been prosecuted 3 times that I know of for check deception, maybe more times. He had had his wages garnished because he refused to pay his bills, and sometimes it appeared from the court documents I saw that even his lawyers would garnish his wages so the lawyer could get paid. I mean, what kind of guy rips off his own lawyer? I mean, how dumb are these people? But they never learned. So there is this thing called revocation of conditional release, and it works like this. The person is put in jail. And the judge says, we're going to let you out of jail under the condition that you behave yourself. A lot of people take advantage of that. They understand if I don't behave myself, I'm going back in jail. So they behave themselves, but not a narcissist. Somebody who is hardwired like a psychopath, they just do what they do, and it doesn't matter. You can put them in jail and let them out, and the first day they get out, I mean, as soon as their foot hits the pavement, it seems, they go right back to doing what they were doing before because they're hardwired. That's what they do. And so a narcissist, as he gets older, he's wired to go in circles. He's wired to do what he does. He thinks that he or she is winning. They cannot do anything else but be narcissists because that is the way of their DNA. Make a little rhyme out of it. Number 6 is they just can't admit their flaws. I guess anybody could admit flaws if they really wanted to, but with a narcissist, for some odd reason, that's just not something that they care to do. They know they have flaws, they just don't admit it. But there's this principle, that if you confess the same thing over and over and over again, even though you know you're wrong, but if you keep doing it, you will come to the point where you believe your own confession. So if you tell other people a lie, say you make up this fake story about your life, you make up this lie, and you tell it over and over and over again to other people, well, obviously you're hearing it yourself and you try to live up to your lie. That's part of your lie, part of your deception. Well, after a while, you become a believer yourself. It's not just others you are deceiving, but you are deceiving yourself. You are gaslighting yourself. It's what narcissists do. They don't realize it because, well, they just never can admit their flaws. They have this one track that they stay on. That is the track of deception. They do not get out of that rut. They stay right there, and they eventually come to a point where their life ends. And if you look back on their life, and I know some of these guys now in their late 60s, early 70s, and that's where they are. I don't know if their life is going to end anytime soon, but, statistically within the next 15 years anyhow. But, they're in the, let's call it the sunset years of their life. And they're still in that rut. They don't see the problem. They have, in a sense, I don't like the term brainwashed, but they have, in a sense, brainwashed themselves. They have gaslighted themselves. Do you want to keep on talking? Cool. See those 2 rectangles on the screen? If you want our conversation to continue, all you got to do is click one of those 2 rectangles, and we keep on going. But if not, thanks for stopping by, and we'll see y'all next time.